Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get it cracking. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Banquet Hall Podcast. As always, my name is Kyler Nathan. I am your host. If this is your first time tuning into the pod, make sure you follow the pod at Banquet Hall Pod. And we're in for a treat today. I'm joined by one of the little homies, Kiyahna herself, with the pearls showing, her artwork in the background. Kiyahna, how you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm doing really good. Hi, how is everyone? Um, but yeah, let's get started. I'm excited.
Let's get started. I'm excited too. As most of our guests on the Banquet Hall, this is Kiyahna's first podcast, so make sure y'all show her hella love throughout the episode in the comments, on socials, all of that. But as always, we're going to get started with a random icebreaker question, which I have not thought of whatsoever. So we're going to recycle one from an old episode. Kiyahna, if you had to describe your aura using colors in this very moment today, what colors would you use to describe your aura?
That's an interesting one. I'm gonna say because my favorite color is green. I don't really know what words mean, but since my favorite color is green, I'm gonna go with green for 200.
See, I did not expect you
I hope
not
it makes
to not.
sense.
I did not expect you to not know what aura as well, so that's my fault. Um, so I would say, I mean, let's go ahead. This is why they invented the Googles. We'll get a good definition of aura: the distinctive atmosphere or quality that seems to surround and be generated by a person, thing, or place. It's like your essence, like the energy you're giving off. So you feeling kind of green today?
I'm feeling green. I got that green thumb. I'm a great plant mom. They're still alive. So yeah.
Okay, we rock with a green aura. I feel like my aura is usually blue, like nice and calm, nice and chill. So if y'all know what auras are, leave y'all aura comment in the chat or in the comment section. Let us know what color y'all aura is today. But nevertheless, people didn't tune into this podcast to hear about your aura. They want to hear about you as an artist. So let's go ahead and get started. Kiyahna, where are you from and how did that shape the person you're in the process of becoming?
Well, I was born in LA, but I'm from San Diego. And I feel like that shaped who I've become because I'm a product of a single mother, which means I am also a child of the village. Um, I was raised in church, so my village is usually church oriented, really centered around God. So I'm really grateful for my village. I'm grateful for all the people that have helped me become who I am today because I feel like without my village, without my community here, I wouldn't be the same person. I wouldn't have that same support.
I always forget that you were born in LA. I always just picture you just full San Diego through and through.
No, yeah. I say it because it's like I go to LA a lot, a lot. I can't say that I'm from LA, but I like LA is like a second home to me. My godmother kind of raised me during the summers in Compton. So I love LA. LA has a special place in my heart.
I mean, it's the greatest city on earth. How could you not love it? Before we get into you as an artist and as a creative, I'm curious if you remember when we first crossed paths. Do you remember when we first entered each other's lives?
Technically on Twitter. I would say technically on Twitter because I wanted to okay, first of all, we were mutuals and I saw someone was promoting your book and I was like, oh, another poetry book because I just had supported Lynette's. So then I was like, okay. And then I looked on your website. It was all nice and like, dark because of Obsidian. But I was intrigued, especially because after reading a couple posts on your Twitter, I was like, okay, he could write. So then I just took the leap. I was like, yeah, let me get a little poetry book, support a Black business. And I feel like after that, we just got closer because we ended up working at the BRC around the same time. And I was kind of a part of your hiring process. So, I mean,
You were a part of my hiring process.
I was there.
Dang, so it's your fault they got me.
Hey, it's my fault they got me, okay? But I feel like we ended up like just getting closer as like big homie, little homie, just during the internship and just the year that we were at UCSD together.
Always feel old interviewing quote unquote little homies on the pod because it's like I used to like supervise you on the low, and now we talking on a podcast.
Right.
Do you
Especially
remember?
with,
I'll go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially with both of us not being at UCSD anymore, like it's a big change for both of us. But what was your next question?
I was gonna say, do you remember the first conversation we ever had about your art and when I called you out for being a poet?
Stop. That was yeah, because what's his name was there and you made me read my poem in front of you and what's his
Andre?
name? Andre Oasis, yes. And basically I thought, okay, so I wrote a poem in high school. I didn't think it was any good. I did it for a project. But once I read Kyler my poem, he actually loved it. And I was very confused because I was like, I don't really consider myself a poet. I consider myself a creative, an artist. Um, but yeah, after you heard my poetry, then you're just like, all right, we're gonna get her into writing. So that I think April, that poets, what's it called?
National Poetry Month?
The yeah, the National Poetry Month. You kind of like inspired me to like keep writing because I was also taking a writing class at that time. So you're just like, might as well.
Yeah, I definitely have vivid memories of that. And even scaling back a little bit before that, during Welcome Week that year, we had like some type of speed friending event and we were walking back to cars or something. And that's when you first told me that you write. And I think that's when I was like starting to try to plant seeds like, oh, we need to get you to perform. I need to be a poet. You a poet. He's like, I'm not a poet. Like, and then we was in that conference room and I was like, I'll give you a poetry writing workshop right now. And you thought I was bluffing.
Yeah.
I pulled out the PowerPoint. We did the poetry workshop. And then you shared that poem. I'm like, nah, when I say I'm going to make sure I bring out the poet in somebody, that's my mission. I love bringing out the poet in people.
Aw, well, I love that because honestly, I really would not have considered myself a poet before I met you. I didn't join no poetry clubs. I didn't think that my words rolled off the page. I thought like I could write a good essay, but just being artistic with my words, it was just a push that I feel like I needed, you know? So thank you.
Anytime. But hey, you already had it in you. I just was enhancing it. But you mentioned that you never really described yourself as a poet. How would you describe yourself as an artist or creative now?
Now I am a multidisciplinary creative who specializes in Black portraiture, as you can see up here. These are some of my best paintings that I've done in college. And then since being out of college, I did that one right there. But I just feel like multidisciplinary because I can't just put myself in one box. I do a lot, I do a lot.
You do a lot and wonderful paintings above. I actually have a painting of yours. Wonder if I can. Uh, there we go. Have yours. Camera's blurred right now. Let me
That's a
take
little.
off just a little. Hold on, we gonna get the zoom settings out. There we go. Another Kiyahna painting.
Yeah.
I, I
I
bought
haven't
this.
seen that in so long.
I bought this from you at the Black Biz flea market, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, now that
My
hangs
first time.
above. That was your first time vending,
Yep. That was my first time vending ever.
and you made a sale.
I made a few. Actually, I was really surprised at how much love I got at UCSD. It's different because after I started vending at like the PB farmers market or whatever, and doing that, you realize you don't get as much love like in community as compared to being in your age range community, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. because I don't know. I realize a lot of white people like to buy some of my art, but they don't like the portraits. And I'm like, I specialize in black portraiture. What you mean? But yeah, I was really surprised. Honestly, I was surprised people buy my work because that's another thing. Imposter syndrome. Whoo, imposter syndrome. But just getting over that, taking that leap. I felt like it was really important to like try. And shout out to Jada because Black Beauty Near You, honestly, and the Black Biz Flea Market, without them, I wouldn't have gotten that platform, the opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, shout out to Jada for sure. She's been on this podcast more than anybody. So if y'all don't know who Jada is, y'all can rewind all the way back to the very first episode of the Banquet Hall to learn more about her, as well as a few other episodes here and there. So shout out to Jada for sure. And I want to talk a little bit more about like what it's like being at farmers markets or setting up a table and trying to sell your paintings because obviously like artists beauty is in the eye of the beholder when people are looking at art they may feel compelled to buy, they may just be browsing. So what is that like trying to engage with people at the table? Like is it scary? Are you get nervous doing it? Do people talk about the paintings or you just kind of get the people just kind of look at you awkwardly and not engage at all and walk away?
I mean, I feel like you'll get that everywhere, especially because it's very hard selling something that kind of comes from your heart. Like my art is
Hmm.
also a part of my soul. So it's very awkward when I'm seeing people browse. Like I'm like, yeah, feel free to look around, but I'm like, buy something, support me. But like you do that, you scare them. But it's like that's the point I'm being here. Um, so yeah, I just feel like it's nerve wracking, but once you get out of that and you kind of realize like if I don't make it and I don't put it out there, who will?
Mm.
If not me. So I just feel like it is up to me to continue what I was striving to do, which is to use my art to, you know, portray the beauty that I see in the world, and my beauty comes from my community, my Black community. I love my Black people, and I definitely want my Black people to find some quality, nice art that they can hang in their house, especially not for too expensive of a price. I would say I have very affordable prices.
For now, we're gonna raise the prices in the future though. We need you to get what you're worth.
Yeah,
But
because it'd be hard to like set pricing and then maintain that because I feel like that's just a whole separate thing about being a business owner that you don't even think about until you actually start selling stuff.
yeah, and like you said, what we're putting out there as artists, these are pieces of our souls, pieces of our spirit, pieces of our story. So sometimes it's like it's hard to put a price on it, and once you put a price on it that people actually will pay for, it don't feel enough because it's like, dang, it's kind of worth a little bit more than that. But anybody gonna buy it for too much. But that's why I appreciate being able to give artists a platform to tell their story because I think the more that we hear from artists, the more that we hear about their story, the more that we hear about how they perceive their own art, I think that starts to raise the value in people's minds when it's okay, like this isn't just somebody who got some colors at Michael's and just was BS in a painting together. This is somebody who put a lot of thought and attention to it. And I like what you said about it being kind of where when people are like just looking at your soul through art at a table because my please everything people will get these poetry books at whatever table or at an open mic then they just start reading it right in front of me. I'm like, dude, like don't don't just flip this book open and start reading that and like, oh, what was this one about? I don't want to talk about this right now.
Right? I don't want to explain. I wrote it. You explain. How about that? It's open to interpretation.
Exactly, but people don't like using their critical thinking skills these days. They want it all spoon fed to them in 90-second videos.
Hmm.
The life of an artist. But why don't we take it back a bit and tell us a little bit about how you got started on your pathway as a multidimensional, multidisciplinary artist slash creative. What's the origin story to Kiyahna the artist, Kiki's creations? Let's get into it.
Well, that's like a loaded question. Um,
Hey,
I was because because of my mom, okay, because of my mom, she's a crafter, but she doesn't consider herself an artist, even though she's great at art. She'll never say it though. But I feel like she's a great artist, and that's kind of where my inspiration comes from, as far as just having that um I guess drive to create. She's always making something. She likes to make book nooks, keychains. It started off with me as a baby, just sitting playing with my Play-Doh because she had something to do. So she would always set me down with some Play-Doh or some paper and some crayons to draw with. Um, just to keep me busy. But I ended up realizing how good that was, because like, one, I'm able to be independent, but two, I'm able to, want to create, not necessarily have to. um because the tools were always around me. I
Mm.
just, you know, decide when and where I wanted to lean into it. So if not my mom's house, I was always at my grandma's house with a little TV tray in front of the TV, just painting with my watercolors. They're usually from the dollar store, but it's you always got to start humble before you get up there, okay? Um, but yeah, I usually started with those, and maybe the art sets that random people wanted to give me for holidays, birthdays. They always want to give artists like a really big art set, but we only use about one third, maybe one half of it. Um, but yeah, after that, after those, the dry ass markers run out, then you realize, okay, maybe it's time to switch mediums. You get interested in something else. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I operate, because now I feel like that just translates to, if I don't want to stick with this medium, I go over to another. Like,
Mm.
I'm into acrylic painting, but sometimes I love my Posca pens. I recently just got the metallic version. They're so nice. I love Posca pens. But yeah, and then I jump around to oils. I did this in oil, this in acrylic. It's like a difference, but it's subtle. And I didn't even start getting into oils till college, so that was like a big part of my life. I was just painting with watercolor and acrylic. Um, I would say just, start anywhere. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I got started, because my mom was always crafting. She was always creating.
So I heard a few things within that. One, it sounds like you gotta get your mom on the podcast too, bring out the artist in her.
Yeah, she needs a
um,
little love. Just a little.
hey, we all do. But two, well, another thing that I thought of when you were saying that, when you mentioned like the oil-based painting, the acrylic painting, I don't know when it was when I found out about all these different types of paint, but I keep it a buck with y'all always just like, yeah, like it's paint. Like I don't know the difference between acrylic, oil-based paint, water-based paint. I'm like, yeah, just go to the store and pick up the blue paint. What else do you
Pick
need?
it up.
But when you mention people gifting artists like sets that you only use a third of or half of, that reminded me of, I feel like once I really started performing poetry, every gift was a journal. Every gift from my friends was a journal. And I'm like, y'all, I don't need 52 journals. I
Hmm.
just I just don't have like I don't have a need for this many journals. And I do most of my writing on my phone too. So I feel bad because it's like I'm probably never going to use this shirt.
That's so funny, because like my family hears that I'm a writer and they also send me journals. I don't know what goes through people's heads, but sometimes, we just want a pen, a pencil. I like stationery. What's wrong with some post notes?
So what is the ideal gift to give an artist? Like if somebody's watching this podcast and they're trying to think of your Christmas or birthday gift and they want to get you something related to art, what's the artist's wish list?
I would say an artist wish list to start off with is canvases.
Mm,
I love a good Ross sale. I love going to Ross to find my canvases. Not always, but sometimes, because either they got a hole in it, or they're like damaged in some way. And I have that background that I learned at UCSD where I can stretch my own canvases. If you want to learn how to stretch your own canvas, go to my page at Kiki's Creation on Instagram. I just made a video. But yeah, stretching your canvas is not that hard. I feel like a lot of people overcomplicate it, but once you learn how to do it and you keep doing it, it becomes easier. But yeah, canvas is the first thing. The second thing, maybe some acrylic paint, maybe some paint brushes. Just keep it simple. Because sometimes when people hear, oh, you want paint, they get every single color. It's not about all the colors, it's about the primary colors so that you have a good foundation and a base to work with. Um, but yeah, paintbrushes is usually cool. And Posca pens. Get your favorite artist and Posca pen because they'll love them. I feel like Posca pens are so fun.
Okay, I have to ask for the audience and myself, what the hell is a Posca pen?
Okay, wait. I'm so glad you asked. Hold up. This is my marker bag. Okay, wait. Show and tell time.
I love it.
This is my marker bag. It says Alpha Kappa Alpha because I'm an AKA Skiwi. And I have all my Posca pens in here. Okay, so this is a Posca pen. Basically, this is a metallic version. They come in they come in sets. So either you get the regular set that comes with just your generic colors, or you can get the metallic set, which I got a lot of metallics. So you get gold, you get this like nice little purple. Like it's a very different purple compared to the regular purple. And then let's see. Ooh, I bought these fine liner ones. This is another set, another purple. Like every color is different in its own way, but I wouldn't recommend getting like all the Poscas just so you have every single color, right? You really want a good foundation. So I would suggest getting the regular set first. And then if
Mm-hmm.
you like find the metallics, splurge a little bit because they come in really cute colors. But yeah, I usually pair them with my Crayola Super Tips. I do a lot of drawing in my sketchbook, so that's why I usually have this lying around.
You're such an artist. You had that bag ready to go. You got the different
Already.
markers. That's dope. And I definitely pulled up the stretching a canvas video on your IG because I've never seen a canvas get stretched before. But that like, yeah, that's really dope. So if y'all looking to create your own canvases, definitely tap in Kiki's.creations, but we'll get into your IG and all that a little bit later in the podcast. As you build out your website though, you should definitely have like a little wish list section on there, like an Amazon wish list so people can fund your artistry. Get all the what are they called? Posca pens, pocket pens. I'm gonna call them
Oscar pen.
PPs.
That's
The P
that's so
pens.
smart. I never thought that I never thought about like an Amazon wish list for a business, but that's a good idea, to help support. I just made an Etsy, so I saw that people put like little tip jars. I thought that was
Hmm.
cute. A little tip jar to support artists. But I think I'm gonna make an Amazon wish list now.
Yeah, I mean they got the tip jars, the Amazon wish list. There's this link called like Buy Me a Coffee or something where you can like send people like $5 just to support them. You can get a Patreon going. Trust me, I got the MBA for a reason, Kiyahna. We can elevate your business real quick.
Say less.
You could be my first official client. But art has been a big theme for me this month because you are the second artist that I've interviewed this month, painter, I should say. Like, obviously, everybody on the podcast is an artist, but someone who works with different paints as a medium. I just did an episode with Ashley. So, after y'all done with this episode, definitely tap in with Ashley. And we're just talking about like all the different inspirations behind art and where you get into the zone to begin your art. So, paint a picture for me, pun maybe intended, I don't know. We'll go with pun intended. Paint a picture for me of like what is that setting that you're in, that zone that you're in when you find inspiration to put paint to canvas, or what are the types of things that inspire you as an artist?
Mm, okay, first my mom. Then I love Pinterest as a
Mm,
good like starting point. Um because like Pinterest boards are always so like creative. You can do them up, do them down, however you want. And I usually have a board for references. I save a lot of my references from Pinterest, and have like a black painting inspo board where I can like go back to either based off of the paintings that I've already done or paintings that I want to do in the future. And then I would say recently I've been just screenshotting stuff that I see on TikTok that I really like. I feel like the life of an artist, I have a lot of screenshots in my camera roll that I want to go back to, but haven't had the chance to yet. So yeah, I find beauty everywhere. So I see it where I see it and I capture it just to save it because yeah, I like to have a memory bank of places that I can go in order to spark my inspiration when I'm a little, in need of that.
mm. I love that because I think that's definitely a testament to what I mean by the depth of artistry because you just never know how many different screenshots, how many different notes, saved videos, pinned Pinterest pages an artist may get just to inform like half of a painting or half of something that they're working on. Because Lord knows, like you could just be walking, take a picture of something, you might hear a bird chirp, you might see a specific colored tree, a specific flower, and you're like, ooh, I need this for inspo later. And then all of a sudden you got to filter through like 3,000 screenshots trying to find a picture of that one flower to get your painting
Yeah,
going.
pretty much.
Do you remember the first thing you ever painted?
Hmm. No, I feel like the first thing I have a portfolio of stuff that I was making when I was younger. Um, but the first thing I've ever painted was probably ugly, not gonna lie. Art is very open to subjection, but I know when my art is ugly when I see it. So I would probably look back on it and be like, mm. But I don't know. I feel like when I was in the moment, it probably wasn't that bad. I used to draw people very weird, very, you know, how do you how do you put it? Very one dimensional instead of
Mm,
dimensional, three dimensional. Like, yeah, I was big on stick figures when I was little because I hated drawing faces. But got comfortable being once I got comfortable with, you know, anatomy and faces and just different orientations that you can put people in, and then you realize it's not too bad. They kind of all look the same. You just gotta, you know, I guess make the the jaw lines different, the eyebrows, the eyes. I feel like are something that I'm very big on in all my
hmm.
pieces, and the eyes usually pop me. Not gonna lie, she be staring at me in my sleep sometimes. But I would say like just trying to figure out how to the spacing of everything, that's a big thing. So when I was younger, I didn't get the whole proportions, but I feel like now I've I've gotten more comfortable. I wouldn't say I'm the best. I wouldn't say I'm good, but you know, I feel like you just keep growing every day as an artist. You keep learning. Um, so yeah.
It's a process for sure. What do you think it is about the eyes for you in your paintings? Like what draws you to those eyes or that style of eyes or why eyes are so important?
They're the windows to the soul. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it do be the forefront of my references. And sometimes I feel like the eyes are what captures the most emotion. Especially like this one. This was about male vulnerability, and you can't really see, but he has a tear dripping. Um, so I wanted to capture that, especially because I haven't been drawing a lot of black men or painting a lot of black men. So when I did that one, that was like the first time I did it. Um, And I think the eyes were just important because it showed the vulnerability that you don't really get to see in a lot of men. Um, so I just wanted to capture that.
I love that. Love that so much. What was it about 2022 that made you want to launch Kiki's Creations? Like, what made you want to take that step forward as an artist and put yourself out there?
I think because I was in the position to do it. Like,
Mm,
I've been thinking about like being able to sell my art legally for a while because you can always sell something here and there, but like legally to have a full business, it takes like a complete different process, um a whole different like mindset shift because I would never consider myself as like a business owner. um However, with being a small business owner, you kind of learn you learn the tricks of the trade as you go. Especially because I've never taken a business class in my life. I just looked up how to make a business. I saw the LLC option. I went on the Secretary of State website and I paid. A good tip and a rule of thumb is that you got to have money to make money. So I was in a position because my refund check had kicked in and I was like, all right. So yeah, it was just the timing. And then also because I was graduating, I was like, I feel like I need something to kind of have my legacy, um kind of, what do you call it, I guess, to have my legacy overshadow my presence, especially because I
mm,
knew I wasn't going to be at UCSD forever. But I just wanted to leave my footprint somewhere on this earth. And if that had to be through my business, I was like, yeah, might as well take that leap. It's very difficult, I would say, but once you get to a point where you're a little more content with how things are going, I mean, there's never a time when you kind of know exactly what you're doing, at least for me. Uh, but yeah, I feel like right now I'm in a different position than when I started. So all I can say is praise God because I wouldn't have even imagined, you know, starting the business.
hey, and as somebody who has seen some of that growth over the last few years, like I could definitely even just hear it in how you're describing it, like that growth, because I feel like what was that 2019, 2020, that time period when I was starting to work for the BRC. I feel like you wouldn't be talking about yourself as an artist in this way and talking about legacy. You're just like, what? Me? No, I can't do that.
Never. And the crazy part is I didn't even start calling myself an artist until, okay, let me tell you a story. So I went to a GPM for the comm department,
Hmm.
and essentially we had like a guest speaker or whatever, for journalism. And fun fact, I wanted to be a journalist. I want to be a screenwriter. However, things don't go necessarily according to plan, but she just really inspired me to just have a title, have some sort of way to distinguish myself. So yeah, I guess as being in that meeting, as I was in that meeting, I was just really influenced in order to start speaking more life into myself. And so that day, I guess it was kind of early 2019, I was just like, I'm an artist, I'm not just a creative. I don't just draw well. I don't just paint well. I can consider myself an artist because if I don't start calling myself an artist, then how will anybody else recognize me as that? And I always tell my mom, or my mom always tells me that I can't be a famous artist if I don't paint. So you got to start somewhere. So as annoying as that is, she's so right. You can't really get famous until you start. You can't get good until you practice. So yeah.
I love that. And I think a lot of people need to hear that too, because I think a lot of people are always afraid to take that first leap or to just put themselves out there to start doing the thing because we're perfectionists. We want to do things right the first way. We want to hit the ground running. And that just isn't the case. And I think that was one of the other motivators for wanting to podcast in this way, because I want people to be able to hear the parts that aren't that sweet. Like, we go on social media, we see the finished products, we see the promotional reels, but you don't see how many people viewing this content. You don't see how many people liking this content. You for damn sure don't see how many people not buying the content. And so I think that the more that we can let people in behind that curtain, people will start to understand, like, yeah, like, as artists, we have doubt, we have imposter syndrome, we have those times where we're like, dang, like, should I do it? But just putting yourself out there, you're going further than sitting in your room not trying to put yourself out there, because you may not always be successful to start, but you got to work towards that success, whether it's doing your paintings, screenwriting, which is damn sure not too late for you to be a screenwriter. We not giving up that dream. I'll be damned if I'll let you give up that dream. Um, but yeah, man, it's a process.
It's a process, and you really gotta trust the process. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like, I every painting I start, you gotta tell yourself to trust the process, but also if there's anybody else in the room and they're like, oh, I don't think that looks right, or I don't think that sounds right. Trust the process. Like, that's the main thing that I feel like combats that imposter syndrome in their heads too, because it's not done. It's nowhere near done. Who said I was done? I'm just starting. I'm just beginning. So yeah, just trust that process. You'll get there.
Trust in the process. Do you have a piece that you're most proud of? I know it's like picking a favorite kid, but do you?
I think this one I haven't showed y'all yet, but this is Sapphire.
Ooh, I
And
love
this
that one.
I it went with my gemstone series. And I think I'm most proud of her because that's really the first painting I use oils. Um and I had a deadline. So I did it within a week, stretched my own canvas and everything within the week. And um yeah, because it was a final project, I was putting my all into it. And then once it was done and I could see the finished product, and after I trusted that process, because it was a little ugly at first, I'm not gonna lie, but it comes together at the end. And I feel like that's when I get like the most excitement, because my vision is finally coming to life. The reference picture is turning out the way I wanted it to. The colors are doing exactly what I wanted them to. Um, so yeah, I think I'm most proud of Sapphire because that was really uh, the start of, I guess, that next chapter of doing other
Hmm.
things.
Tell me more about the gemstone series. Were you able to do any other gemstones?
Yes. So okay, I gotta locate them all. But okay, this is Sapphire. And this is Pearl. So Pearl is a second part of the Gemstone series because I wanted to kind of do an ode because joining Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I feel like I just kind of wanted to make that stamp, and it was during that period when I was being initiated. So I was very proud of that one as well. But this is also another part. Okay, wait. That's a painting I got from Home Goods. Love that one. But this one is one I actually made. This is Diamond. And I feel like um her take in the Gemstone series is mainly just the fact that she's bold in her queendom, but the
Mm.
fact that Diamond has that luxurious feel, and like she's bedazzled out, ready to go. Um, yeah, that's the Gemstone series. I had one more, but I don't know where she went. I just made a painting of my baby cousin Aaliyah while she was a baby. Um, but if you would like to learn more about the Gemstone series, that's also on my Instagram page as well. I did a little excerpt about it.
There you have it, the gemstone collection. You know, I'm gonna have to selfishly one day commission an obsidian painting now to add to your gemstone series. Oh, this
Yeah,
last one is
I hold
amethyst.
amethyst, yes. And also I kind of had requests because like I should just continue it because it was never really supposed to be, well, okay, it was supposed to just be a project, but colors are in everything, and I feel like there's so many more gemstones that I could have picked. Like I was thinking in my head, since green is my favorite color, an emerald of
Mhm.
the series, um, or even something with a little more red, like as a pop of red, like ruby. But I just, when the time comes and when I got, nothing else to do, I think I'll start on them. But I don't know. Yeah.
You need to just go to a crystal shop and just look at all the gemstones in there and find your inspiration and find you a nice find you like a unique red color stone that nobody knows about and just do a painting off of that. I think that would be dope.
Right. Because I like rubies, but I don't want to do rubies because they're so, I feel like they're really popularized. I like doing stuff that other people haven't done yet. So you're right on that. I need to go to crystal shops.
I feel that. But yeah, definitely encourage y'all to check out Kiki's creations on IG to see some of the other paintings because I don't want you to give out all the goods on the podcast. People are gonna have to engage with you to see some of them. But specifically, I highly encourage y'all to check out the Avatar: The Last Airbender one because that shit is hard. I love the Avatar painting so much, or the pastel drawing. It's
Thank
so
you. I
dope.
actually did that for my boyfriend Andre's birthday. It was so random because he was not expecting it, and I had whipped out my pastels because I wanted to do something quick. Um, and we had just finished binging Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I thought that was like a nice little thing to make him an avatar. But yeah, also I'm open to commission. So if you would like your own and you would like to become your very own avatar, you can.
See, one of my goals is for all of the paintings that well, not all of them, but for the majority of the paintings I have in my future home to come from artists that I know, like personally commissioning those pieces. So I know you're working on one of my commissions right now, but know that there will be more commissions in the future. I'm gonna have to give you some reference material, but I have some ideas flowing in my head just looking at this avatar painting. So I'm gonna have a whole Kiki's Creations room in my future household.
Aw, I'm honored.
Yeah, I gotta because I just feel like that. Like I love all art, obviously, but I think it's just something so much cooler if somebody walks in your house like, "Oh wow, who did this painting?" I'm like, "Oh, the homie." Like just
Right.
so we'll work on those commissions and we'll talk a little bit about how people can get commissions at the tail end of the podcast. But before we transition to that part of the podcast, I wanted to ISO a little bit to talk about you as a writer, because obviously painting, pastels, drawing, that's part of you as an artist and creative. And we alluded to a little bit earlier about how was trying to plant those seeds of Kiyahna the poet who has since now you've performed at an open mic before. You got that on your resume. You more out and proud as a writer, if I may say that. What do you get out of writing that you may not necessarily get through like more visual mediums like painting?
I feel like writing is a different part of me because when I put words to paper, I feel more I feel more free, if that makes sense. Like I feel like once I'm done with a painting, yes, it is a piece of my soul. But when I'm done with a piece of writing, I feel like I literally just put my heart on the paper and I'm reading it back to myself. And I don't know, I feel like I put more emotion into some of the pieces of writing that I do, mainly because I'm an overthinker and I just sometimes if I think about something I just can't stop. So that translates into writing. I just sometimes can't stop writing. But I feel like sometimes um it translates to my writing in the sense that I'm kind of a cup runneth over, like I'm able to put my thoughts on paper, but I don't know. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't, but they come together sometimes at the end.
And I feel like it's sentences like "I'm a cup runneth over" that you say, and I'm like, yeah, you're a writer. I don't know why you try to deny it. That's not something people just say. It's like, oh, I'm a cup runneth over. Like that's such a writer's thing to say.
It's just I feel like I have so many ideas that you can't possibly grasp every single one. Like I heard this last Sunday I was listening to this YouTube by um a preacher named like Stephen Chandler, and essentially he was saying sometime your lifetime is so big, or sometimes God places things in your heart that are so big for your lifetime, that you'll probably never get to see through. But the point is, God is putting you at the center of it, and He's placing that on your heart so you can start it and maybe someone else can finish it. Um, but with my intentions, hopefully I start it and I finish it. But I just liked how he said that because sometimes I feel like, yeah, my ideas are so big for just me that it doesn't seem realistic to say that I can do it. But with everything I've done, I mean, I've just felt like God is pushing me to do big things, and I can't think little. You got to think big. So once you kind of get that in your head, you kind of shift your mindset. You realize, okay, I have big ideas, some not doable, some maybe a little more doable. Maybe we'll start with the doable ones and see where we can get.
Hey, I love that. I can't wait for you to listen back to everything you're saying on this podcast because I just have like such like stark differences between the conversations you and I had when you was at the front desk of the BRC to Kiyahna today, and it makes me so happy because I'm like, yes, this is what we were working towards.
Really?
Oh,
I feel
absolutely.
like I'm completely a different person than I was like freshman year of college. I always think about that, like freshman year of college versus now, and just the transition of getting to college and then the other transition of getting out of college. Like it's been such a big shift. So many things in my life have happened to this point to where out of everything that's tried to knock me down, I'm still standing 10 toes down. So I think that's most important. You just keep getting back up, you keep trying, you keep trusting the process, and you know that, you know, your gifts were placed in your hands for a reason.
Mm, love that. I didn't have this on the list of questions, but I want to experiment with something. And if you aren't able to answer this question, I'll just edit it out because that's the power of the podcast host. Do you have any podcast friendly Kyler memories or stories that you can give our listeners? Like one good story, something funny, something from when we used to work together. I know it's on the spot, so if you can't think of one, that's fine. But I think I want to start asking that question to people just to see what kind of gems we unearth on this podcast.
What kind of gems? Hmm.
And we can always come back to it too if you think of something before we close out.
I feel like just being in the BRC and then like kind of closer to closing time, I think Malia came in and she was saying, "Hi, big homie," and she was just chatting it up with you. I was like, "Big homie, that's my big homie." But I feel like that's like a a focused Kyler memory just because you're a big homie to so many. And just like with your birthday passing, I saw how many people really love you and put you at the forefront. And I love that. I love that our community is so giving. Um, but it's you're able to receive a lot. Like as much as you've taught me and I've learned, I feel like I've taught you some things and you've learned. Like it's a give and take, especially like it wasn't a full on program, big homie, little homie, but it was something that we kind of took initiative to maintain because you're
Hmm.
still, big homie in so many people's lives. And honestly, a lot of people can thank you for the inspiration, the wisdom that you've instilled within us, especially as a pillar of our community. So I think that's like a good Kyler memory that I have. Just seeing you chilling in your office, talking with people. And I'd be like, "Hi, big homie." And then somebody else calls you their big homie. I'm like, "That's my big homie." But you're all our big homies, honestly, because you're such a good role model, Kyler.
Oh, I appreciate that. That warms my heart. And I will say on my birthday, so my birthday, we're recording this on the 24th, so my birthday was Monday. Um, yeah, I also noticed that too. I was like, dang, everybody posting me and shit. Everybody's saying such nice words. Like,
Everybody.
it's like, oh, y'all are so kind. Um, and just some gem pictures. Like, it's some pictures I hadn't seen in a while. Like, a lot of people like the picture Fernando posted of me and him at Black Grad, like dapping each other up in our caps and gowns. I'm like, yeah, like educated black men out here with love.
Period. We graduate.
But yeah, I have accumulated so many little homies throughout my time at UCSD. Because I just like the idea of like little homie as that like relationship category because it's like obviously you aren't that much younger than me, but at the same time, like because I was like a full-time staff member, you're a student. But I wanted y'all to know that I'm a full-time staff member. I'm not really an adult. I'm still not an adult. So y'all ain't gotta treat me like I'm Mr. Like people call me Mr. Kyler. Like don't call me Mr. Kyler, like it's Kyler. Um, but that's what made work like so fun because it's like I know that I'm impacting the youth. No, but I'm impacting the minds of people and just helping y'all because it's like, yeah, I was just in this seat a few years ago. And I think that's where the conversations about writing come in because I hear certain things that certain people say, and I'm like, ooh, I know you be writing. I know you have the notes app filled with these thoughts and these feelings, and you just don't feel confident sharing it. And I'm like, nah, I need you to share it. I need you to go to open mic because it's so free. So yes, I definitely appreciate all those words for sure. And there's somebody listening to this podcast who's like, no, I'm the little homie. We gonna have to have a little homie
Yep.
Olympics or something.
Something. I feel like all of us little homies need to come together, do like a little homie, big homie meet and greet type thing. That way we can all have like, our little collective, our little community. Cause being outside of UCSD is a whole different like feel. You're thrown into like the deep end of the real world. So it's kind of nice to have your little hub.
Absolutely. And it's like a hub to return back to people who support you, people who know you, people who have witnessed different parts of your journey. They've witnessed you at your highest peaks and your lowest valleys, and they love you all the same. And that's just what makes community so dope.
Yeah.
So we
10
talked about, wait, is that 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
So we talked about you as a writer with regards to poetry. I want to talk a little bit, just a smidge about screenwriting because I know that's something that you're interested in. And even if you said that's something that ain't happening, it's still in the works. We still got the seeds. Do you still have my? Didn't I give you a screenwriting book or something?
You did. You did. Have I opened it? No.
Hey,
But you did.
look, I'm sitting next to a bookshelf full of books that are much more idealistic. Kyler Ball, like, oh, I need to read that. Oh, I need to read that. Oh, I need to read that. I'm slowly making my way through them. But one day you will crack open that screenwriting book and you will start your screenplay. My question is, if you were to receive a check for $50 million right now to write your own movie, what movie would you want to write? What would the
Probably
screenplay be
one.
about?
The screenplay, I think, would be I'm gonna take that Tyler Perry approach. Not because I like Tyler Perry, just because I feel like some of the things he did work, because he started with writing about his own life, right? So I would probably do kind of more of a autobiography type thing. Um, Mainly because my life is a movie. A lot of people don't know this, but I found out in 2020. It was like right before, actually right kind of after we went on lockdown. Um, I found out that I am the second oldest of 7 siblings, per my sperm donor, my father. my sperm donor. And my sisters, I have two younger sisters, one older sister. They reached out to me on Instagram and they're like, "Is this your mom? Do you did you remember being with this dude or did whatever?" And they're just trying to like set the tone. And then they're like, "Well, we've been looking for you all your life." I was like, "Huh?" I I cannot even tell you, like, I've wanted siblings so bad. Like, I've always been told I was the only child, never thought that there would be, um, really sisters, brothers running around this world that I was related to. Um, so it was just really interesting, really cool. It was very shocking, very overwhelming in the moment. Um, but long story short, we ended up orchestrating a trip to meet
Mm.
up. My older sister lives in Maryland. Surprisingly enough, my younger sisters live in LA. And since I told you I was kind of raised by my godmother in the summers, I found out that they've lived 13 minutes away from me my
Wow.
whole life. When I found that out, I cried because when it's like you think about this man who just leaves your mother and then, kind of starts his own family. Like he can do whatever he wants, but starts his own family 13 minutes away from really where you've been um for a significant point of my life. I was just very taken aback, but I realize it's not about him. It's about like the relationships I can foster now. Um, so just being on that trip and being able to be with my sisters, I was so excited. We were traveling. My older sister ended up taking me to Miami for the first time. It was hella fun. Um, but yeah, I've learned so much about them as individuals. We're all different. My mom and my aunt think I really look like my older sister for some reason. Like we look just alike. And it's so crazy because she's in her 30s. And I really would have never pictured a sister. Um, but yeah, it was kind of like a beautiful thing that it was a blessing in disguise that just came out of nowhere. So I think if I were to have to write a screenplay, I would write about that meeting process and how shocking it was, um, and then kind of putting in kind of how things are now. It's
Mm.
kind of crazy. My younger sisters don't really talk to my older sister a lot. Trip didn't end that well. But I feel like my job as kind of the newcomer in all of this is kind of being the glue that holds them together. It was a big thing to try to, settle disagreements, but I feel like just being the person to kind of being like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?" This person's doing well. This person's doing well. Kind of being the bridge uh, to bridge the divide. Um, it was a lot, but it was eye opening for me because I've never been an older sister.
Mhm.
I didn't know. Oh, and then I also found out I was an auntie like that. I'm sorry, completely separate thing. But I found out I was an auntie, and that was another thing. But yeah, I just feel like being the middleman in that. Um, I would probably want to put that in a screenplay about how I was kind of not split in two, but my mind was split in two because it was so many things that were happening at once that um probably should be shared someday on the big screen.
It should. And as you were talking through that, I was thinking back. I think that it was like a master's program application where you had me read like a draft of some type of screenplay related to what you were just sharing. And I was just thinking back on that. I'm like, yeah, like that's such a cool thing to potentially that's such a cool thing to potentially have as a screenplay. And as you were saying it and just your emotions with it, I think it would make a dope ass TV series. Like a TV series of like discovering your siblings, going on a trip to Miami, things working well or not. Um, so yeah, don't give that up. If you need you, I'm gonna need you to crack open that book, start reading, start writing. I'll be your editor. Like we can send it back and forth. We're gonna get this screenplay done. We're gonna make that happen.
Okay, Kyler. I just need to start putting it into words. After that application, though, I didn't do nothing with that. It's probably still hanging out in my Google Drive. But yeah, I probably should put it down somewhere. I want to remember that part of my life as like the beginning because I didn't want to think of it as the end. I was like, we just met. Can we just get along? But I feel like, if I reach out now, hopefully it's a little more cordial. Hopefully it's a little nicer. And it's a testament to kind of how far we've come because, we're always going to be sisters. So,
Mm,
yeah.
amen to that. Let's go ahead and get into the tail half of the podcast. I think people got a pretty good idea of who you are as an artist, who you are as a creative. We already set you up to have homework to work on this screenplay, but obviously you're young. We got plenty of time to get that screenplay made. Let's go with the Zen place. So I've been asking everybody that comes on the podcast, what is your Zen place? And by Zen place, I mean either a specific physical place or just like a set of circumstances that bring you to a peaceful state of mind. Maybe it's your favorite incense, your favorite candle, but what brings you to a place of Zen?
Um, as maybe cliche as it sounds, God, the Lord Jesus Christ, because I feel like the scripture of, worry about nothing, pray about everything really motivated me during this point of my life. Mainly because of the fact that I'm such a worrier, I'm such an overthinker. But when you realize you don't have to be, you really can just give it to God. You could just meditate with His words, not your own. It frees up that space of, you know, the overthinkingness. It kind of lets that subside, so that way I can, I guess, pour back life into myself. You know, and I think that helps me stay grounded and centered because, the Zen place is really where I'm most at peace. It's where I'm probably the most myself talking to God. Um, but yeah, just growing my relationship with Him is kind of my Zen place because it just helps me live. It helps me survive because it just be hard.
And I don't think that's a cliche answer at all. I think that's real. Religion is something that is so impactful and so powerful for so many people. And I think that when you are putting yourself in a place where you're having an honest conversation with God, or you're putting yourself in a place where you just, like you say, you feel completely yourself, like I think that's a perfect answer to being in that place of Zen, being in that place of peace. So I definitely appreciate that. Let's see. Outside of what we've discussed, what else do people need to know about Kiyahna to get a complete picture of who you are? And this could be something as little as your favorite ice cream is butter pecan, or it could be whatever you want people to know about you before they finish hearing you talk on this episode.
Hmm. I feel like one thing people could know about me is that like I'm creative in all aspects, not just the art world, if that makes sense. Like I think of everything out the box, really. Um I feel like, if there's not a way for me to do it, um then I'll find my own way. I'll make a way. God will make a way. Um I think to get a complete picture of who I am, I'm funny. I am weird, you know. Uh my mom thinks that, my boyfriend thinks that, but we're all weird at the end of the day. It's not weird unless you make it weird. Um but yeah, I think I'm just multifaceted in kind of every sense of the word because I can't really limit myself without taking parts away from that. Um, so yeah.
Weird and funny. I don't know if I know if whether or not you're funny. Have you ever made me laugh before?
Oh, I make you laugh all the time.
I don't know about that one. Who
But
are oh go ahead, sorry.
oh, nothing.
Who are a few people who inspire you in your life?
Well,
Nobody, dang. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I already said my mom. I would say my grandma. Unfortunately, she passed. Um, but she inspired me. She hated some of the stuff I made, but she liked some of the stuff I made. So I honestly can just thank her for her honesty because she is very opinionated, or she was. But I think that she inspired me to kind of be a trailblazer, trendsetter. She was the head of CORE in her prime. She also marched with Martin Luther King. Um, she was definitely at the forefront of uh, the civil rights movement. You know, she was friends with Rosa Parks.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, they went to the same church, and I didn't even know that as a teenager. And she would just talk about it during Black History Month to different people who would listen. And I think that's, you know, an inspiration of my life, you know, just sharing your story to whoever will listen. My grandma was definitely a talker. She loved to conversate. And I think that inspires me because I'm not necessarily, okay, I talk a lot, but I don't talk when I don't talk all the time. And I feel like sometimes I'm like a sponge and I absorb a lot. So I feel like it's not, sometimes my words are not as important as someone else's. But I think she inspires me to kind of make my presence known and to make my ideas known in the sense that they are important, they do matter. Um, but yeah, that kind of inspires me to keep sharing, to keep going.
I love that. Love that so much. And just proud of you and happy for you to be able to even be on this platform and talk for going on an hour and 15 now. Like just being able to share your story and come out of not necessarily your box, but be able to just talk freely about who you are as a person and as an artist. And I think what you just said about your grandmother was so powerful in a number of ways because one thing I was just thinking of is like, we talk about a lot of these things with civil rights as if they happened a millennia ago. And the fact that the sentence, like, oh, my grandmother was friends with Rosa Parks, they went to the same church, that contextualizes a lot of this stuff for people who want to act like Black people been free for the last 3,000 years.
That part, just because they show you the pictures in black and white doesn't mean they didn't take them pictures in color. They were
Hey,
taken in color before.
hey, that's a word. Let's see. Let's go to advice corner real quick. So, what words of advice would you have for someone, let's say someone who is still trying to come into their own as an artist and wants to make that first step to put their art out there, whatever form that art may take? What words of advice would you give that person?
Start.
Period.
I I just feel like that's the most important thing. Just start because a lot of things, or a lot of times, like I said, I have a lot of ideas. So a lot of times, sometimes I get overwhelmed with the amount and just the degree in which I'm thinking, to where you get scared and you don't necessarily want to start. Um, but I heard something that kind of motivates me. Um, and this girl was saying how I just forgot what that girl was saying, but she said something and it motivated me. I completely lost it. But what
She
did
said
she
some.
say? Not, she said something. Uh what did she say? Oh, What was it? It was something about start. Oh, basically she was like, if you don't start now, um when are you going to start? Because you're really the only person that has the capability to do and start what you said you were going to start. So if it's not you starting, then who's going to start it for you? It's not going to get started. So I would just say start, because once you start, once you get into it, then you trust the process. Then you realize that it could get better, and then you kind of want to put yourself in there to make it better. So I would say, if there's anyone out there listening to this podcast and you're very unsure, I would say nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody figuring it out. Nobody's technically better than you. um just start.
Mhm. Just start for sure. What about recommendation corner? So recommendation corner, I like this as recommendations for people, either stuff that you have engaged with that has been inspirational and influential for you, or just stuff that you would recommend people check out to get a better picture idea of you as a person. So it could be recommendations for books, podcasts, movies, songs, food, just anything you want to recommend people to check out.
I recommend you check out my website. Recommend you check out my Etsy. Just made it just for you. And I would say songs. I love me some music. I really love Cleo Soul and her new album Gold. Um, oh, I love that album. I love her album Heaven. It's just, oh, it's another good one. Cleo Soul honestly is music for the soul. So if you just need a good vibe, if you need something to put you in that creative mode, I would say Cleo Soul is the person to go to. I also love me some Snow Allegra, some Janae Aiko, but nobody gets me in the feels like Cleo does.
Great recommendation. Uh, you got ahead of the next question when you recommended yourself. But where can people find you? How can people support you and or collab with you if people want to commission? Where can people tap in with you?
You can tap in on my Instagram. So not just Kiki's.creations, but you could tap in with me on my personal at KitKat12600. I have my link tree in my bio where you can visit my website, visit my Etsy. I did all the work for you. All you gotta do is click that button, and you could favorite my Etsy shop if you want to go back to it. You don't have the money to buy some now, that's fine. Um, you can buy stickers through Instagram shop if you want to. I try to make it easier for people. Um, you can DM me if you want. I don't care. Just reach out, say something, comment, say hi. But that's where you can find me. You can also find me at home. Uh, I'll be there a lot of the time. I'll be at home.
You be at home. Definitely encourage y'all to check out the Etsy page. I did once I saw you create the Etsy shop. I do have it in my favorites, I believe. So definitely we'll be looking out for additional content there. Um, let's see, what else do we have? Oh, that's what I was going to say. When y'all follow at Kiki's Creations, make sure y'all follow the right one, because as we were talking, I was trying to pull up the Instagram, I put up like 5 different Kiki's Creations. So it's KIKIZ.KREATIONS. If you just do Kiki's Creations, there's a different person. If you do Kiki's Creations with another Z at the end, it's a different person. You do it without the dot. So Kiki's with a Z dot creations with an S. Make sure y'all tap in with Kiyahna, follow there, get you a commission, get you a sticker, get you a print or something. It's something for everybody at Kiki's Creations, which leads me to shameless plugs, shout outs, manifestations, anything you want to plug on the podcast, anybody else you want to shout out, anything you want to manifest before we close out.
Well, shout out to you for having this amazing podcast. I feel like more people definitely need to be listening. So tap in, go on his YouTube, subscribe, like, follow, all that. His Instagram. Shout out to Jada, like we said, Black Beauty Near You, Black Biz Fleet. Shout out to all y'all little homies who are under this amazing big homie.
I feel
Shout
like I
out
got
to
a
my mama.
corporation.
No, yeah. Shout out to my mama because she made me. Also she been going through a lot, so pray for her. But yeah, I feel like that's all my shout out. Shameless plug. I would like to shameless plug all the Black businesses. If you know a Black business, put them in the comments below so that we can support. Um, just because why not? You know, we're all a community here. Why not support?
And not support. And that's what it's all about. And then the final question of the podcast, Kiyahna, is takeaways slash lessons learned. So, what are you taking away from this episode? What did you learn about yourself, or what new things sparked in your brain throughout this episode? As well as what do you hope? What do you hope that the listeners are taking away with them?
Mm, I hope y'all taking. Oh, wow. I hope everyone takes away the fact that y'all need to just start. Y'all need to just trust the process and start. Don't think about it. Don't ponder it. Don't plan it no more because you've been planning. I know you've been planning. Just start. Take that leap of faith because you never know where it could take you. And think bigger because some of y'all think it's small. You be thinking big.
I'm actually calling my listeners small thinkers.
No, we're big thinkers today. I'll speak a life into everyone. We are big thinkers. We having big businesses, not small businesses. And
Mm-hmm.
sharing big ideas.
Love that. What's my takeaway from this episode? Um, I would say that my takeaway is that words matter and affirming each other is very important because I think back on the conversation we alluded to about us talking about you as a writer and conversations I've had with a lot of people over the course of my time at UCSD where I could have been very well the first person to ever give somebody the thought that they could be a good artist. And that's just by trusting like a gut instinct that like, yeah, like I want to affirm this person's art, affirm this person's creativity because I know that's something that if I would have received more affirmation for, maybe I would have started earlier as an artist as well. So for the listeners, I just encourage y'all if you see somebody doing well, and this doesn't have to be with art, if you see somebody hustling with a job, if you see somebody going to the gym every day, if you see somebody starting to write, starting to sing, you never know what those affirmations and what those words can do for somebody in the long term because there's so many artists. There's so many artists we will never get to experience because nobody ever told them that they like their stuff. I think that's what I want the listeners to take away with them.
I love that. And honestly, there's so many people who are creatives that haven't shared a lick of their work yet. So I would just, yeah, start, share, um, affirm yourself while affirming others, especially because a compliment goes a long way. So I love that.
Compliment goes a long way. And the best way that y'all can compliment me today is by leaving a like, a comment, subscribe. We call that a segue in the business. Make sure y'all follow the podcast at Banquet Hall Pod. Share this episode with one of your little homies, one of your big homies. Share this with somebody you thought of throughout the podcast. If this is your first time on the pod, and you came just because I don't know you're part of Kiyahna's sorority or you just mess with Kiyahna and you're like I need to hear Kiyahna's story, y'all can stick around for a little bit. So go ahead once this episode is done, at least bare minimum, I want y'all to go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever you're listening on, and add one additional episode to your watch later or to your episodes. Just one. Just start with one additional episode. We mentioned Jada quite a bit in this podcast, so you can check out Jada's episode. We mentioned Malia. Malia and I actually did a live sip and paint episode. That one was really fun, so y'all can definitely check that one out. Just did the episode with Ashley, who's another painter. So if you want another perspective from an artist that works in a visual medium. Y'all could tap in with Ashley. But there's plenty of stories on the banquet hall. If you want your story told, hop on the podcast as well. But Kiyahna, it's been a pleasure chatting with you this afternoon. I had a lot of fun. Just want to thank you again for being on the podcast. And I'll turn it over to you for any last words and to close us out.
Aw, thank you for having me, Kyla. I appreciate the platform. Honestly, this is my first time being on a podcast. I was a little nervous, but it ended up being really fun. So thank you.
Hey, I told you so. Listeners, we gave y'all 5-star content. Make sure y'all leave a 5-star rating, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side.